Hello everyone! This video is going to be about Ultrakill's demo. More specifically, about things players aren't supposed to know or notice, including unused level decorations, enemy behavior oddities, and other weird objects. The demo holds a very special place in my heart, as it was how I experienced Ultrakill for the first time. I reckon it's the same for many of you, but with Ultrakill's rise in popularity, I'm sure there are people who aren't familiar with how the game used to look. So, if you are one of them, here's your chance to experience a lot of the major differences. I'll go over the levels first, and then we'll go over everything I won't have mentioned by that point. Let's not wait any longer, and descend straight into... Yes, we're starting from the intro. There's something odd I noticed while in the introductory tutorial sequence. I took a closer look at the stationary field enemies, and found out they still have their old model here. Disabled, but not completely removed. While I couldn't find a way to animate it, I noticed that their rectals actually work properly here. Additionally, the old field models have a black outline around them that is visible even when they are behind other objects. The outlines still appear despite me having enemy silhouette cheat turned off. While it is not a secret, I still want to mention how buffed the coins got with time, as coin punching and coin sprints were not present in the demo. After experimenting with actual enemies, I discovered that even before the introduction of Radiance, enemies had code that allows boosting their speed. In the glass floor room, there are unused vent decorations and some sort of weird wall that disappears when jumping. Strays have an option for a melee attack that doesn't do anything and just breaks their AI. You can punch this flowing blood. I'm not sure if you can do that in the full version. There is an alternate unfinished arena that was supposed to be present in place of the boss hallway. The idea looks cool, but maybe a bit too similar to the Stray introduction room in terms of enemies. The boss room has two unused pieces of war decorations. I have no idea why they were removed. The terminals here, other than looking undescribably hideous, have an unused previous mission button, likely intended for backtracking, before the Cybergrind was thought of as a concept and replaced it. This is supported by its position and unique object name, unlike the Cybergrind button, which is literally a copy-paste of the enemy's button. Other than that, there's nothing interesting in the terminals. No hints at the weapon variants, or even the overheat nail gun. About the nail gun, in case you didn't know, which isn't improbable, as you only get to use it for half a level, it has no ammo cap, and the bar is instead responsible for showing how fast it fires. The magnets have no limit, so you can spam them as much as you want. If you go down the path which the swords machine took, you can see schisms, which haven't been properly introduced yet. The skulls don't have all three pedestal types stored in one object as it is in the full version. This is likely because the pedestals are simple recovers here. The Crusher Arena has two unused pipes with blood flowing out of them. The Source Machine sucks at its job and doesn't even kill all the enemies. The textures near the secret exit are layered on top of one another, causing this visual glitch. The Source Machine has a toggleable Friendly option, which makes it do this. I tried taking it out of its arena, but it didn't want to help me deal with these trays. The Source Machine also has a toggle option for using moves from both phases. Pretty cool if you ask me. Oh, now you want to leave the arena. Alright. The start of the level has a disabled black cube covering the upper part of the room, and gets deactivated if you try to get close to it. While I was testing, this happened to me. On your way to the swords machine, the hallway is surrounded by black cubes to give off the vibe of a really dark path, or a path in the void, whatever you prefer. Two of these cubes are disabled. One of them is above the door here, and the other is somewhere under the giant fan that you probably didn't even know existed, because the walls don't let you see it normally. The swords machine arena has some black cubes disabled because they clip through the walls. Additionally, it has 3 floor ramps, which go unused for some reason. I also discovered that swords machines have an eternal rage setting, way before it got added with the sandbox and cheats. If you already have the shotgun, you can just blow up the rock blocking the path and bully the swords machine. This is why we don't have infinite magnets. The rest of the level doesn't have anything remotely interesting. To compensate, the swords machine decided to aura farm by enraging on spawn. It then mocked me again by surviving what was supposed to be a fatal blow. Hakita names major areas with numbers to better see what part of the level is where when creating them. In this level, an area with the number 4 is absent. Other than Hakita's inability to count, the level only has 2 unused point light objects, which barely change anything when enabled, and that's it. Cerberus surprisingly has a lot to offer. First of all, there's a disabled crusher object out of bounds for whatever reason. Judging by how it doesn't really extend, Hakita could be testing the limited range crusher found at this level. This lava is a solid block that doesn't damage the player and has this disappearing effect when close to the camera. I tried setting the Cerberus' difficulty to Ultrakill must die, and nothing really changed for the fight until it randomly enraged on its own. After some testing, I came to the conclusion that this happens consistently when both of them are awake for some time. None of the other enemies' behavior changes on non-existent difficulties in the demo, except for schisms, which seem to aim a little better, but that might be a setting from Violent, and drones, which we'll get to later. Cerberus also have a friendly option, which doesn't do anything, because Cerberus aren't your friends. Since the chairs are part of the Cerberus object, it can be turned back on and glued to them. There is no out-of-bounds skybox. The walls just display an image of the horizon, which causes them to not align properly. This room has some disabled trees that probably went unused due to blocking the paths and being unnecessary. Drones seem to be affected by difficulty changing, with high settings increasing their rate of fire and low settings making them borderline non-threatening. This filth pelvis and breakdance. The last room has a more wreath, unlike the full game version. The secret above is present, but the button is not. The elevator is replaced with a door to the hideous mass arena that ends the level. The elevator itself can be re-enabled and is fully functional, ending the level and straight up throwing the player out to the menu. There's also some weird block in one of the door frames. Here's the hideous mass arena in all of its detail, and here's the early version of the arena. You can see a part of the limbo screens from here. What even is that block's purpose then? The elevator present in the Hideous Mass Arena works only partly, and instead of ending the level, it teleports you to the nearest checkpoint and locks your movement. This level contains remnants from the normal exit elevator, such as the entry pit and the terminal, sadly non-functional. I accidentally turned on something that fucking breaks the whole level. This level was clearly made without much thought, as the parts of it aren't really grouped in any way. Since cheats are absent, most levels feature light objects that illuminate the whole level, to help with testing, I suppose. While walking around, I noticed a textured hellgate. Correct me if I'm wrong, but something wicked seems to despawn when you are not carrying skulls in the final version. Here it keeps hunting you until the end. No, literally, something wicked despawns when the red skull is placed on the final pedestal, which it still does in full version. Testament terminals are basically just tips of the day taking up the whole screen. As you can see, the leftovers of the normal terminals are still here. I managed to do this with one of the puzzle terminals. I also found an older version of the dot puzzle element, shaped like a ring instead. Interestingly enough, removing puzzle elements does not work, however adding new ones, as seen before, worked perfectly fine. There aren't any other levels in the demo. I tried accessing the unavailable difficulties or levels, but they are simply not present. The only notable thing which I found is that UKMD is referred to as V1 Must Die instead, which honestly should have been the name, since we don't play as Ultrakill. It was probably renamed because the difficulty menu appears before we get introduced to V1 in the boot up sequence. I also found this crude early style panel. And on the topic of HUD, an early version of the health and weapon UI is also present. Additionally, I found a book from 1-4, still left in the demo, as it is a child of the player object here. More interestingly, the demo has an early version of the cheats pop up, indicating that work on them was in progress. It also has an unfinished spawn menu, with a black hole, some enemies, and skulls. Two of the enemies here do not have portraits, but after digging around, I confirmed that those two are the soldier and the street cleaner, neither of which can be spawned in. The hideous mask cannot be fought as well, but the icon is present as the model was used for the demo's ending. Hopefully, you learned something new from this video. Exploring the demo and comparing it to the modern version was quite fun for me as well. Now, until we meet again, take care.